Good evening, everybody, to day 2 of the X-Pyr 2024. I'm here with Greg Hamerton, who's originally from South Africa but lives in England. He's got 30 years of experience in flying, runs an online paragliding academy, and he was a competitor in the X-Pyr twice, but has helped us with route analysis and is an all-round super fan of crossing the Pyrenees.
Hey, good evening, Judith. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So you've been running around like crazy with the back markers and interviewing pilots as they're going past. It sounds like it was a very hard day at the back. Hard work in that very stable air.
Yeah, I mean, after the horrible day yesterday, I mean, it was so tragic to see that all of them arriving at La Rune like drowned rats, literally just soaking, but also sweaty. And some of them had got lost in the fog, so that was quite difficult. But then this morning dawned nice, and very early on there was some nice little cumuluses. And we started getting messages of people being in the air from like 8 o'clock this morning. Noe and Las Meshdeta and a few others got some really early flights. So it was a completely different day than yesterday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It looked like, I mean, it was a perfect hike and fly day in that it was sunny. The wind wasn't too strong. So if you take those two out, like there's no rain and there's no wind, then you can do something with it. And it looked like through the day, the wind started increasing from the northeast. It pinned the guys in various places in the terrain. But on the most part, it was possible to fly, but nobody was getting significant altitude. So it was really, really hard moving from one little block of terrain to the next little block. There was always something upwind of the guys. And it makes it really tricky when you don't get altitude for transitions. Like every step was hard fought. So it looked like a really, really hard day to make progress, but some guys managed to do some magic moves on the day. Looked really good.
I think like every edition, the guys who push hard to get into the high stuff and into the better weather profited from that decision yesterday. The guys who were at the back, who were still in kind of the typical Basque Country undulating territory, really struggled today because they were coming into a headwind that was really difficult for them. And we had a few situations where, you know, 2 people were together in a thermal and then one went down and the other one continued. And so I got to interview some pilots who were like, yeah, you can interview me, but don't expect much because I'm pretty pissed off. So.
Yeah, that's the problem at the back. It's brutal. It's harder the further back you are. But the guys in the front have earned their position by working harder. When I say harder, you're already giving 100% and you've got to give 150% to push through to the front. And the difficult thing is you're trying to pace yourself as well. You're thinking of a whole week of racing. And that can work against you because you're wanting to save some of your body. But actually, if you completely thrash out day 1 and day 2, you get into that Spanish air on the Spanish side of the Pyrenees, and the base is just so much higher. So you'll see it'll pay off tomorrow. The guys that have got through to the front are going to get a major advantage tomorrow because they're going to be in the good stuff while the guys are still fighting it out in the slightly less optimal stuff on the French side. So we'll see that play out tomorrow.
Before we talk about the guys at the front and how they did, or even the guys in the middle, one observation that I had today, other than that Cloudbase was, I mean, by 12 o'clock, Cloudbase still hadn't got really above 1,000 meters, 1,500. It didn't really go up until 3. And then where I was, it was 7/8 cloud cover. So it wasn't optimal conditions at the back of the course. But one thing that really struck me all morning is I have never seen so many vultures and kites flying. They were everywhere. I mean, they weren't very high, but they were everywhere. And so you'd have thought, wow, with all those markers, it would be a reasonable day. And yet it wasn't, not at the back.
Yeah. Well, the vultures were out for the X-Pyr athletes.
I hadn't thought of that.
They cluster at the back of the field.
They could smell those blisters.
Yeah, shame. Yeah, I've flown a few times in that area, and that's a real hard part of the course. You think it's going to work, and you know, everything's telling you to go up and make a flight, you know, make it work. But when you fly, the air is just like soup. It just doesn't want to release. The thermals don't seem to coalesce and pop off the terrain, and you end up having to really stick on the terrain, you know, work up the little piece of ground and then make it to the next little clearing. So it's very hard, particularly after a day like yesterday where they've run themselves ragged, and now they're trying to work through this difficult terrain and get going. But yeah, there've been some good moves today. So let me switch over, see if I can go over to my other screen to just get some live tracking action. So this is kind of picking up where we are at the moment. If I should be able to do this, I don't know if this is still working.
We have had some issues with live tracking today. So if people, you know, couldn't find their guys, it's because there was, you know, Flymaster was down for a while. Even we had to go on to the live track 24.
Am I still presenting? Because I've lost my presenting screen. I've got the live tracking now.
I can see your little hand wiggling, and I can see the pilots moving.
Ah, super. Okay, so we're up. I'm just doing a quick overview. We're up with the leader, Gabriel Jansen. He's flown a blinder today. He's been doing really, really well. And Shane Tai, who's just caught up with him. He's at the bottom of the hill, basically, and walking up to Gabriel. And it looks like they're possibly going to tag the turn point this evening. They just have to clear some high ground and do a glide around the back of this valley leading into Alkun. And then they might have to walk up to go and tag the turn point and do a little glide. So the further that they can get down this valley past the turn point, it leads down to the south. My idea would be to go down to this place, Gedre, I suppose it's pronounced. There's a little lake, and use the trails at the end of that valley to climb over the spine of the Pyrenees and give yourself a chance to glide down, maybe in the morning, maybe sort of late morning, but getting yourself out to the Spanish side, because this part of the Pyrenees has a bit of airspace. So they're going to have to walk across this any rate, and it's going to be a massive filter for the guys coming later. Because you've got that walk, you really don't want to be doing that in flying time at the middle of the day. And hopefully the guys can push hard and get down that valley as quickly as they can so that they're in the Spanish air tomorrow. That's looking ahead a bit. But let me just spin back through the field. I just want to see, I've got some pictures, and I don't know if that's possible to get that up on the meet. Are you seeing live tracking still on your screen?
I am.
Ah, okay. Just trying to work out how to jump across to another window in the meet program, but not to worry. Let's see what we've got. Maybe we've got, does that change the window for you?
No, it didn't.
Okay, share this tab instead, and we've got that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's come through.
Okay, so that's just to show you the airspace I was talking about. That turn point that they're aiming for is Alkun here. There's a Val d'Orzun, the ski station. And then after that, they're running down a valley. And when you get to the end of this valley, you'll see here low altitude restriction Pyrenees up to 1,000 meters above the ground. I don't know if that's been slightly reduced for the race. Sometimes they have permission to make it a little bit less, and then there's a chance to glide over this neck. But if it's still in place, they might have to consider that as a strategic move. They've got to get down onto the ground, hike over this col, and then glide down on the Spanish side. Sky sight for tomorrow. I think I've got that. Yes, Tuesday. I'm looking at that same area. This is the weather forecast for tomorrow, and you can see these. This is the height of thermals. it gets significantly better as you get out of the end of the valley and you get over to the Spanish side. And there's going to be a line of sort of convergence just on the French side. So there's going to be a southerly coming over from the Spanish side, which will make it really hard if you're coming late. So keep an eye on that tomorrow. One of the other things that I've been watching through the day, which is quite useful, is Winds Mobi, which has got the winds. And you can see the wind directions in that area. That's something that helps you understand what the guys are doing during the day. You can see what the wind's doing and what they presented with as challenges. And just looking at the windy forecast for that same area tomorrow, you can see there's this beautiful line of very light wind somewhere near the spine of the Pyrenees. It's just on the French side. And if you get over to the south side, you've got light wind leading into that area. And fairly good thermal forecast. Maybe some cumulus, but maybe some things getting very big. But generally that looks like a good forecast for me for hike and fly. Maybe a bit of wind later, middle of the day towards the big peaks, but I think they can do something with it. I think it's going to be a good racing day tomorrow, and the guys that push as hard as they can now are going to have a good day on the south side. You still there, Judith?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just going back to the action for the day. So the pilot at the front, Gabriel, I'm trying to find him now. There's Shane, there's Gabriel Jensen. He flew a very good line, basically straight on the course line. He managed to get some thermals and track along basically along the red line. And he got a couple of climbs ahead of the guys and managed to work the ridges and lead quite a long part of the day towards the end of the day. He's managed to puzzle out this terrain and make it forward and push into wind to get onto the ridges to get through. And he's done very well to do that. Some of the other pilots that I noticed, João Veiga, you'll see João right over here coming around Larau. And he decided to go deep into the mountains to try another route. So everybody else was running along this front ridge from Mendive and up and along here and down to Alcé, and he thermaled back into the back ranges. And actually, I think at one point he was over on the Spanish side and walked back up and had to relaunch and try and get himself down. So he's gone way off course. It was a gamble. It didn't really work for him, and now he's in having to do another diversion to come back in. So he did fly well, but the guys that stay on the red line just have to do so much less work because it's just so much shorter. So they're doing little hops and jumping across those little pieces. Other pilot that I noticed did very well, Inigo Ice. He started the day at the back. He was right up on the Col d'Espagay, which is on the border here. And he managed to link the flight along this valley, going onto these foothills and thermaling up and flying to the next foothill and flying to the next foothill. And he managed to work his way all the way along. And he was going for the high ground as well, going up this back route, and then found that it was really tricky in this terrain because of the northeasterly wind coming over and getting into this bowl. It was very tricky, and he then redirected, landed and walked up on the front ridge and flew on, and he's now somewhere kind of mid-pack, I would say. He's saved himself from being right at the back, and he's caught up a good couple of positions. So that was a good move from him. He flew very well.
He's a Basque pilot, so he's left home territory now.
Yeah, so he understands how to do that section, and he did that very well. And yeah, the other pilots I'm just looking at here. The Stanislav Meyer also caught up. He was a bit back earlier on, and he took a flight, got some thermals. The guys have been doing pretty much the same routes. There's been one on the red line. There's been one slightly further inland, which was quite tricky because it doesn't give you any good launch options. It was on the spine that they were running along, and you can see on the map that sort of terrain, it's very higgledy-piggledy, and it doesn't give you very nice options. You know, you can launch somewhere, but then very soon you're flying behind something upwind of you, and there's no clear piece of ridge that you can actually work. Dario at the moment, I don't know if he's flying, I doubt it. 25 k's an hour, maybe he's just having a quick flight off the back. It doesn't look like a very good position to be flying with a northeasterly wind, but that's the ridge they've been running along and lobbing off the end. And some of the guys have been able to run the front part of that ridge and get thermals on the transition and make it a decent way towards the turn point. And that's where the day kind of ended, with Lars and Simon and Moraine. Moraine has walked up to the top. So he slope landed on this face somewhere here, and he's walked up to the top. So he's got a chance to do a late glide. He's sitting in a position there where he might be able to just sneak over this dividing piece of ground. Simon and Lars have opted to just run over the road, and then they will probably glide down into this valley. And Shane Tyre managed to soar that piece, soar around the corner, and flick around to catch up to Gabriel. So that's where the action is at the moment. Those two guys out front, if they can get the turn point and get a glide, an evening glide in valley release, they've really got a massive advantage over everybody else. There is a bit of a divide there, and there's a chase pack. Most of these guys are going to be at the turn point tomorrow morning, and then be doing the transition into Spain kind of midday sometime, I expect.
Well, just to give everybody a time check, we're recording this and it's now 7:24, so they've still got an hour and a half left to get to the turn point.
Okay.
And on a quick note on Dario Dandeo, he has got a bad ankle. We saw him yesterday and it was aggravated by all the walking yesterday, so if he can do any bunny hops, he'll take them.
That's good. So he's in the air at the moment.
Yeah, he needs the rest sitting down, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So from where he is, he'll glide. Maybe just get out to LK. It's tricky ground there. There's lots of trees and it's quite a convoluted bit of ridge. But he's in a reasonable position that he can kind of hold on. But unless it's really nice flying tomorrow, it's quite tricky terrain to work your way through, and the forecast looks very similar to today in terms of wind direction on that side of the ridge.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, just another couple of bits of news that I've just been sent. Maël Baguet managed to put his glider in a tree landing, so he's got a bit of delay to get it out and get back on his way. So if he's stationary for a while, there's no need to worry. As far as I know, he's absolutely fine. And there was a sort of Chinese whispers of between all the organization staff. You know, somebody said, "Oh, Tommy Friedrichs has to go to the doctor because he's got infected blisters, and you know he's off to hospital." That wasn't true. I caught up with him, and he was just like, "Oh, I've got a blister. Who hasn't?" You know, it was just like, "I'm fine." He was all hullabaloo about, "Why are 5 of you here?"
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, after running in the rain, everybody's going to have some kind of foot damage. It's really, really nasty to have that on day one. It's the kind of thing that you'd prefer to have on the last day of the race.
Yeah. Well, yeah. in my experience of the X-Pyr, it always gets better towards Catalonia. So, from what I remember, we've never had a rained out day at the end.
Yeah, agreed. I've just managed to get another window open here, so I can do 3D. And there we go. This might help a little bit. Give it a better view to orient pilots of what's happening. Unfortunately, this doesn't have a little tail on it. Sorry, I'm just trying to close things. There we go. So this is Gabriel. At the moment, it looked that she's showing as flying. So he's managed to walk up, and he's got the turn point sitting in front of him. So I think if it is that he's in the air, he's managed to hike and fly over this, and he's in a position to glide. So hopefully he can get a thermal and grab the turn point from the air, and that will give him a massive advantage for gliding down the valley. Shane has got to get his speed boots on. He's shown as, well, it's got a flying symbol there, but I'm sure he's walking. Speed 3 k's an hour. So yeah, he's walking up, and he has to get up all the way up to the top of the crest, and as fast as he can, so he can get over this piece and glide over to the turn point. I think he's just got enough time to do that. The other guys, I don't think they're going to make it in time. Maybe if Simon can get some lift in this back ridge and he can fly through there, he might be able to pull off a little magic move. Moraine also, you can see it's pretty difficult terrain where they are. They've got a wind coming kind of down the picture, and yeah, do you launch here and commit yourself to this massive forest, or do you walk along the top? And that's on tired legs. That's pretty hard hiking to get up to somewhere up here where he can maybe sneak over to the other guys, but I don't think they're making the turn point looking at that. And then just coming back out of that picture a bit, you can see the terrain that they've been playing in, and the guys, this block in front of us here has been one of the big puzzles and filters of the day. Some of the guys going up the right of the picture on the high ground, getting difficulties. Some of the guys going straight through the middle, but that's all in the lee of the flow. And some of the guys going right out to the left side and launching off 1, 2, 3, 4 little pieces, which were quite hard to transition across. Christian Durant was one of the pilots that did some of that, but got eaten by one of these little hills and didn't manage to get further, and he landed there. Whereas the pilot that was with him, who's doing fantastically, managed to jump up a whole lot of positions. Ben Hodgson, where is he? There he is. He's on the road, and he is right up there with Maxime Pinot and Stanislav Meyer and Pierre Remy. So I would say that's the outstanding performance of the day from Ben. He's managed to pull right forward through the pack and get up to, that's the serious crew up there. Noé, Sebastian Weber, those 4 or 5 guys there, and they're chasing hard after Simon and Moraine and the 2 up front. So it's going to be an exciting day tomorrow. There's that big filter of the divide, and then we're going to see the guys open up the gas and race towards Castejón de Sos. And we might start thinking that the course is a bit too short. Let's see.
Well, we'll see. It might be stormy on Thursday. We might have, another day that is going to be very difficult in terms of who's at the front and who's at the back.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Greg, for your analysis and your time. Can I just give a quick plug for two things? One is that we've got Fabian Umbricht, twice competitor, doing the weather forecast for us every night, a bespoke forecast for different parts of the course where people are. And you can read that every evening, both in English and Spanish. And he's going to be our guest presenter on Wednesday. But tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking to Tom Payne, 2 times X-Alps competitor and 1-time supporter at the X-Pyr, and he's going to be our guest presenter tomorrow evening. So
Brilliant.
thank
I
you
look forward
so
to it.
much. It's been a brilliant analysis and great to have all the pictures and such great insight.
Thank you. It's been a rather distracting day. I was supposed to be working, but once the race starts, it's just disaster. So I've been tracking most of the time. And yeah, it's a view that I wish I had while I was racing, and it's very hard to pass this to athletes, because when you're sitting at the computer and you've got the 3D widescreen and you can look at things, you get such a good overview. When you're in the race, bear in mind that the guys are on the ground, they're sweating, they've got broken communications, like occasional updates, and they have no idea what's going on. So it's much harder on the ground to choose a good line. And some of the guys have been doing fantastic choices, and some of the guys have been getting stuck. It's totally understandable. So I look forward to watching tomorrow and see how the guys puzzle out the route. It's diabolically difficult. And my greatest respect to all the guys that are taking part. It's super tough, and keep going, keep your spirits up. It's fantastic watching you. So thanks for that.